Good evening, I'm your host Camelia and you're watching KiniNews. Many have seen Rafizi's victory in the PKR polls as a sign of hope for Pakatan Harapan. However, according to a survey, it could mean BN is likely to win big.
Rafizi Ramli's victory in the recent PKR party polls has been seen as a beacon of hope among opposition supporters. However, a survey by Rafizi's research firm, Invoke Solutions, prior to the party polls has found that a win for Rafizi would likely have the opposite effect on Pakatan Harapan in GE15. Invoke wrote in the conclusion of the survey report that a victory for Rafizi will likely kill any chance of a Big Tent opposition approach for GE15. It added that this would greatly increase the likelihood of a BN landslide. The Big Tent approach is being proposed by several Harapan leaders for the coalition to work together with other opposition parties to ensure straight fights in GE15. This is after the Malacca and Johor state elections saw BN winning 2/3 majorities despite winning less than 45% of the popular vote. This is thanks to the first-past-the-post electoral system. Rafizi has voiced strong objections against the Big Tent approach.
According to Bersatu, Ismail Sabri signed an agreement on cabinet posts with PN. However, UMNO disputes this. In fact, UMNO is calling it a work of fiction.
Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob did not sign an agreement with Pakatan National on cabinet positions, according to UMNO Information Chief Shahril Hamdan. Ismail Sabri and Shahril both sit in the UMNO Supreme Council. Shahril said that if there was such a deal, he questioned why its existence was only being made public now. Speaking to Utusan Malaysia, he said he considered talks about such a deal as a piece of fiction authored by desperate people. Bersatu Information Chief Wan Saiful Wan Jan recently claimed that this deal existed and hoped that Ismail Sabri would honor the deal. Apart from the Deputy Prime Minister's position, Bersatu is also lobbying Ismail Sabri to replace Zuraida Kamarudin as the Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister. Shahril also believed that Ismail Sabri will not bow to pressure. He said this was because the priority now was to fix the economy. Moreover, the current parliamentary term is about to expire. Meanwhile, Amna Youth Chief Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki said Bersatu was being shameless for seeking positions.
So while UMNO calls it fiction, Bersatu says there's a witness, and it happens to be someone from UMNO itself.
Former BN Secretary General Anwar Musa witnessed a coalition agreement between Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob and Pakatan National. This is according to Bersatu Information Chief Wan Saiful Wan Jan. He said this in response to UMNO Information Chief Shahril Hamdan, stating that no such agreement existed. In a statement today, Wan Saiful said a coalition agreement was a form of best practices adopted by Ismail Sabri, which was common in other democracies. Shahrir had disputed Wan Saiful's claim that Ismail Sabri and PN had an agreement which included details of cabinet appointments. Among others, PN is currently lobbying for the vacant Deputy Prime Minister's position. According to Wan Saiful, UMNO too officially submitted nominees for cabinet positions when Bersatu President Muhyiddin Yassin was Prime Minister. Wan Saiful said at the time, Muhyiddin kept his promises to appoint UMNO members to government positions, and this was a sign of morality and integrity.
Did you know the actual price of RON95 is more than 4 ringgit? However, thanks to government subsidies, you're paying half that amount. You would think the finance minister would reveal this, but not quite. It was Khairi on Twitter.
Malaysia has among the lowest fuel prices in the world. According to Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin, this is because Putrajaya will be subsidizing around 54% for every liter of RON95 petrol sold over the next week. Khairi said this was based on the actual price of RON95, which was 4 ringgit and 52 cents per liter. He said Malaysia holds RON95 petrol price at 2 ringgit and 5 cents per liter to curb inflation. For comparison, a liter of raw 95 equivalents is sold at 10 ringgit and 28 cents in Singapore, 5 ringgit and 24 cents in Indonesia, and 5 ringgit and 47 cents in Thailand. The price of raw 95 in Malaysia has remained unchanged since February 27, 2021. Crude oil prices rallied since the start of the year before being exacerbated by the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, the price of Brent crude has been on a 4-day decline and trading at just below $100 at the time of reporting.
Speaking of fuel prices, most of the subsidies fuel is used by high-income earners. This has prompted the government to study targeted fuel subsidy systems.
For every 1 ringgit of fuel subsidy, 53 cents goes to the T20 group, while only 15 cents is utilized by the B40. This is according to a study by Bank Negara Malaysia. Now, the government is in the midst of testing mechanisms for a targeted fuel subsidy system. However, no timeline has been set for its execution. Finance Minister Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the government is testing several proposals before presenting one to the cabinet. Speaking to reporters after witnessing the launch of the E.co Sustainability Blueprint and Report 2021 today, he said customers' experience would vary in the rural areas as well as the city. The government previously estimated that the subsidies for this year would reach 77.7 billion ringgit, of which fuel subsidies are expected to reach 30 billion ringgit. The minister revealed that last month, fuel subsidies already reached 5 billion ringgit a month.
Another Malaysian has been executed in Singapore over a drug offence.
Kalwan Singh has been executed in Singapore today. The execution carried out for drug trafficking was confirmed by Sister Sonia. The 31-year-old was arrested in 2013 for trafficking 120.9 grams of diamorphine into Singapore before being sentenced to death in 2016. Yesterday, Singapore's Court of Appeal dismissed Kalwan's final attempt to stay his execution. Also executed was Kalwan's co-accused, Singaporean Norashari Gauss. The execution today came not long after another Malaysian, Nagentran K. Dharmalingam, was executed in Singapore on April 27 for drug trafficking.
Amna Youth has voiced out against the latest interest rate hike by Bank Negara, saying it will further burden many Malaysian families.
Amna Youth has opposed Bank Negara's decision to raise interest rates. The wing also expressed doubt if doing so would affect inflation. Its chief, Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki, said although the increase appeared minimal, the effects on society were huge. He said a family may have several loans to finance, such as their home, vehicle or personal loans, and the cost may increase by a few hundred ringgit. He added that businesses with commercial loans will have to increase prices, which will definitely affect consumers. Ashraf said the government's claim that an interest rate hike would help curb inflation could not be accepted in total. Writing on Facebook, he said that household income levels were dropping while businesses were not performing well due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, he pointed out that the government was considering removing some subsidies and increasing the ceiling prices of some staple goods on top of increasing interest rates. Yesterday, Bank Negara raised its overnight policy rate by 0.25 points to 2.25%, despite Malaysia's relatively low inflation rate.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.